Hey everybody, welcome aboard to another episode of Orange Grove 55. In this video, I have a fantastic panel. We're going to break down the good, the light side, and the bad, the dark side of the Galactic Starcruiser up next. Hey everybody, welcome aboard to another episode of Orange Grove 55. May the force be with you. Today is an all Galactic Starcruiser show. We're going to the light side, we're going to the dark side, we're going to talk about the good and the bad of this experience. And there's a lot to discuss here. There's an absolute lot to discuss here. I do want to have a little disclosure though, going into this, that none of us have actually been on the Starcruiser. We are completely going off of what we've seen through video, pictures, reviews and stuff like that. I think that's important to kind of mention going into this, that we have not been on it ourselves. These are our opinions based on what we've seen. So
I didn't pull my loan out yet, so I have to wait.
Right. Yeah.
Still waiting on the second mortgage application. Should be hearing back so far.
Yeah, and I still got both of my kidneys, so yeah, we're waiting, but we might get on it eventually. But let's dive in. Let's dive in because me and Vash, we did a video. We were pretty harsh on this experience based on some footage that we were getting prior to that opening premiere date. We're just being honest. What we saw, we didn't really love. We didn't really like, but a lot of that has changed. So let's dive into the light side right now, the good stuff of the Galactic Starcruiser. Alia, let's go ahead and start with you.
Wait, hang on. I got an intro.
Once you start down the dark path, forever will it dominate your destiny. Consume you it will, as it did Obi-Wan's apprentice.
Is the dark side stronger?
No, but easier, more seductive. A Jedi uses the Force for knowledge and defense.
Yes.
We'll see if that one goes through.
Perfect. Yeah. So, Alia, you've seen a lot of footage and stuff. You've been kind of going through the reviews and all that. What are your overall thoughts on the Starcruiser from what you've seen so far?
My overall thoughts are that all of us had too much judgment against it, I guess, initially. Though it's not obviously for everyone, even if you can afford it, unless it's just so much fun change that you're just, I'm going to just do what I want. And even if I don't participate in everything, I'm just going to sit here and enjoy my drink and that's okay. But, overall though, I think it is an awesome experience for role playing, etc. It's just, if that's not for you, then perhaps you should not go unless you're very aware of that situation. So I hope Disney is very honest about that when people call, but hopefully all these reviews and everything are getting out so that people realize that it's role playing on steroids, murder mystery theater, like a whole review kind of show thing. So it's not,
right.
I think if people want Star Wars plus laid back, just go on a Disney cruise, day at sea, even the new Disney Wish coming up with its Star Wars bar. But if you're into like fun, LARPing, role playing, then it's for you. And that's not for me, but I did kind of have fun watching some of these reviews, but I also had like a migraine because I'm very introvert. So I had my introvert antisocial migraine when I was watching it, and I was like, this is not for me.
And that's fair. Now, what were some of the that we're going to start off with the light side. So what were some of the positive things, offhand, some examples you can kind of let us know about that really stuck out for you in terms of like this experience?
Well, even though it's not for me, in a lot of ways, the role playing looked kind of fun. So make it clear, definitely not for me. But I think it looked fun that it's very intense, LARPing, role playing. I kind of like also just how things kind of tied together with the Batuu visit. Also, I like the droid, the R2D2 type droid that went around. I would probably be hanging out with that droid the entire time. They'd probably be, stop hogging the droid, Alia. Because they learn your names. That looked really cool to me. That all the reviewers pretty much said that the cast members learn your names. They use your names in interaction. And so awesome. I liked it too. DFB Guide, shout out to them. The reviews helped a lot for me to change my mind about the situation. But they said that cast members are renowned for being empathetic to begin with, but they said something about the interview process with this stellar, awesome, empathetic cast members with the Galactic Starcruiser, that you have any concerns, anything like that, talk to them. They'll work with you. But yes, I just, a huge smile on my face whenever I watch the footage and that droid was I would just be hanging out with it all the time, and they would tell me, get away from it, Alia. Let little kids enjoy that droid.
Hey, you know what, Alia? I gotta say, I'm a sucker for droids as well. My late grandmother.
The R series, yeah.
Oh, I love the droids. My late grandmother used to be a huge R2D2 fan, so that little character means a lot to me personally. But even aside from that, I love BB-8. I love that. The little BD droid from the video game, and now Book of Boba Fett.
It looks like the bird. That was that's
the little, the cute little one. I love them too. There's nothing wrong with those droids. It's awesome being a droid fan. Mr. Vash. Now, we talked last time about the Starcruiser. You and I weren't really too happy about what we saw, but now a lot more footage has come out. What are your overall feelings in terms of the positivity?
Right, so my biggest fear of going into the Starcruiser, because I had seen the patents on some of the technologies that they had innovated for this experience specifically. We had heard a lot of the chatter of what was going to be in Galaxy's Edge, and then what was now behind a paywall, right? And what we were seeing out of the footage, and not to disagree with you a little bit, Leah, but I will disagree with you a little bit in that our criticisms don't really stem as much from us as they do from Disney and some of their marketing. I mean, some of their marketing was trash, atrocious, and really didn't really highlight what this actual experience was, which was kind of like an escape room or a murder mystery. All those kind of things kind of embedded into this, 2-night, 3-day excursion, right? To this.
True, they made it out to be luxurious and.
Yeah, they used a lot of verbiage that was, maybe it was familiar to those of us who maybe have been on cruises and have been into hotels, but this is not really what that is. Right. So they had a really hard time to explain it. And as we were getting more footage out, as we were getting more word out, it was like, did they really cut those elements? Like, did they not include this? Because I was holding out hope this whole time that they included the play elements that we heard talked about so heavily with Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, and now with the Galactic Starcruiser, the missions, the play. I was really, really hoping beyond hope, like, okay, the rooms don't look great, the setting doesn't look amazing, but man, if the play hits, maybe they can actually pull this off if they just take that swing. And I gotta be honest, they took that swing. They really, really did provide this canvas, this play, in a themed environment that we had never really seen quite before, done in this way. They took this kind of innovative swing, and I gotta give Disney credit. Maybe they didn't hit a home run, but man, for a company who we've been used to see bunt the ball, for them to take a swing, hit it, and maybe make it to second or third. I mean, you gotta congratulate them. This is some really phenomenal stuff that we're seeing here in terms of the play itself.
Absolutely. And Mr. Family Man, what are some positive things that you've been very critical, Mr. Family Man?
Yes.
About you're
I can't
you've been very critical.
Now keep in mind, folks, when we travel along the dark side, I will have my 2 cents about that, because I have not yet disclosed my overall thoughts on that since the opening of Galactic Starcruiser. But on the positive side, number one for me right off the bat, I have to give it to the cast members as Alia had mentioned. Every video that I had watched, they just put their heart and soul into really fulfilling what their character, their whatever was entitled for them to be a part of this Star Cruiser. They did it from the very beginning, even from the time when guests would pull up to the front and they'd take their bags, check them in, the hospitality, everything was what I'm so used to of getting from Disney, even back in the olden days. Us, we're the old timers, so we we get those Disney perks, and I had seen that through the check-in process, arriving onto the Star Cruiser itself, and then, as Mr. Vash Sky had mentioned, the role playing and the storyline, and of how they go about with the storyline, where they have the announcements coming up where they're saying, okay, it's not essential to say, hey, we're about to go into character now, but it's like, it's important, everyone meet here at this location, come to this location. And as a disclosure, as everyone has mentioned, if you are not willing to partake in that, you will have a different experience and you may not like it. You must be into that full on kind of play on words, go with the flow, incorporate yourself into the story. That's the only way that you will get your full money's worth, so to speak. And Disney had mentioned that, so nothing, against that, because they said this is going to be a full-on experience, and that's exactly what it is. It is an experience. A lot of people call it the Star Wars Hotel, and this is an experience. You're staying on board, but it is an experience, and the costuming and some of the aliens, that's something that I was expected to see out of the movies. Like, I was not expecting that amount of detail in those characters aboard this thing. And I really wish, and I'll kind of get into that further on through the dark side, but as far as the cast members, the role playing, and some of the characters, they really hit the nail in the head on that.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. And I was just going to say, the cast members, I will say, these are some of the best cast members I've ever seen, especially in a theme park environment. I have never seen, and I'm not just talking about the performers. The performers are excellent. Their improvisation skills
they are equity actors, correct?
Right. Yeah, exactly. They are kind of a higher tier of cast member. They're literally on stage and doing what they're doing, which was one of the impediments to actually doing that in a theme park setting, like we would see in Galaxy's Edge. But I'm just talking about the frontline cast members. The frontline cast members are they are just they're just at a level that I've just never seen before. That's not to take away from the cast members who do their job day in, day out in the parks, but the quality of service, attending to your every single need. As far as luxury service, I think they hit that one right out of the park.
Well, and I think that when it came to this Star Cruiser, there was a huge amount of investment going into this thing. Disney really needed to get this right. And I think what you touched upon, guys, about with the cast members is I think Disney really looked at the cast and they picked like really the best of the best to be on the Halcyon, the cast members that have shown a history of going above and beyond, really giving that Disney difference. Those are the cast members that Disney said, hey, we want you on the Star Cruiser. We want you there. That's what it feels like to me, because you're right. You watch these videos and the cast members are just phenomenal in this. They're absolutely phenomenal. That's definitely a Lightside thing of this experience. You just see so much interactivity with like the kids and the families, and just the like that, what they call it, what the kids call it, LARPing.
Yeah, LARPing, live action role playing.
There you go. With that, and it's really great. And hey, look, I gotta say, even though I'm not a big fan of how it fits into Star Wars, with Gaia, I feel like she's singing in English. It kind of throws off the Star Wars energy a little bit. But her performance, though, the cast member, the performer, though, hit a home run. It's not her fault that it doesn't feel like Star Wars, but her performance kicked major butt. I mean, she is absolutely phenomenal absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah. I mean, the performances, like I said, from all the cast are really, really spectacular. I mean, they're doing it their all. And even though we have disagreements about, well, maybe not disagreements, but maybe we have criticism about the setting, the kind of what they're working with in terms of the timeline and so forth, those kind of performance constraints, if you will. They are actually putting it all out there on the line, and they're doing a phenomenal job. I will say, look, I think we all kind of grew up in this kind of video game generation, and obviously there are introverts and extroverts and so forth, but there is a kind of an emerging, I don't know, demographic that's looking for more immersion than even a theme park can provide. It's interesting. Joe Rohde actually talked about it when he was, recently still working at the Walt Disney Company until leaving. But he talked about how it's like, hey, look, the first guys that came into Imagineering, they didn't have they didn't have a template to work with, right? They didn't have rules. They didn't have a guidebook, right? They kind of made it up as they went. And they were film guys primarily, so they used film language in designing something. Well, now in the video game generation, people expect that the food, that every single thing that you touch and interact with is as themed to as high a point as the architecture that we create or the environments that we present, right? So that's why Galaxy's Edge is like, you have all of these things that are in universe, in theme, and this is the next level, and it is something that I've wanted to see, not even just for Star Wars, but something I've wanted to see from the themed entertainment industry. And I gotta give Disney credit. They actually did that here.
And also, too, with how Disney now has sort of the people on their side, so to speak, and again, there's still a lot of critiques, to go about this, but now they have people on their side. And I think that this is going to start the pathway of incorporating that into the parks themselves. And I personally feel that's why maybe they hesitated on doing it in Galaxy's Edge for the starting off, because they don't know how exactly people were going to react to it. So I think that they kind of utilize this as a startup tool, but also make some profit, big time profit in the starting of it. But I think now maybe Disney will then be more lax to say, hey, you know what, we can incorporate this into the park. So hopefully, crossing fingers, that Batuu will get some of those implementations on the Starcruiser as well.
What I just want to say too, on the positive side, and this, okay, the pricing is obviously a negative thing. I'm not going to sugarcoat that at all. But in terms of like the positive side of things, and you guys touched upon this perfectly, this is a very unique experience. They are creating almost an entirely new themed industry with this. It's part hotel, part theme park, kind of mushed together into one, right?
Yeah.
So the price is very high. It's outrageous. I can't afford it. I'm not going to even pretend like I can. I cannot afford it. But I will say this in Disney's defense a little bit. And Haston on Twitter, who is fantastic, brought this point up. With any new industry, there's going to be that kind of like that newness to it where you don't know where the market is, right? Theme parks had that same issue when they first opened. It was a new thing. So what's the price for that? With this new offering of the Galactic Starcruiser, this new themed entertainment industry, there really isn't anything else to go by to know what's a fair market price. And I think that eventually that will shake itself out. And I do think it will get more affordable as time goes on. But I do think that that's part of the equation here with the pricing. And I put this in the Lightside category because I do think that that's kind of like giving Disney a little bit of the benefit of the doubt when it comes to that, because I do think it is hard to kind of gauge it, not knowing when you're having something so new, so innovative, you really don't know where it's going to fall in the market. So,
and I agree with that, because I mean, this is going to be completely, totally off topic, but on to what you were just saying, OG, that's just like with Toy Story, the first original Toy Story. No one knew exactly how they were going to feel about this film because it was the first ever CGI film, so and then it even took Pixar even how long to even convince Disney to say, hey, you know what, we have a product here, we're going to move forward with it. And it wasn't until it opened to rave reviews then all other studios, DreamWorks, Blue Sky, everyone started creating CGI animation, all from Toy Story. So I kind of take the Starcruiser as the very first Toy Story of the generation for this new kind of immersive entertainment experience.
Yeah. Now, Ali, I want to come back to you. I want to ask, like, so you're an introvert, right? And you were saying that a lot of this stuff gives you like a headache behind your eye, like a migraine. It's like, oh gosh, this is so stressful. I don't want to participate and stuff like that. Now, is this like, is this something like, what could they do to kind of bring you into this? Like what's something on a positive note, like that would really sell you? Like, okay, the introvert, the participation isn't there, but is there something that like, you might go like, hey, you know what? Like that thing will get me on board.
Reduce price.
Reduce price.
We'll talk about that later.
Yes, so this would be more. I guess the dark side discussion. That to get someone like me, if I'm not being dragged by someone, to reduce price. But to be fair, the DFB guide, Disney Food Blog guide review, or the follow up video they did, they said that if you are an introvert, make sure to just mention that to the superb guest services staff. And they'll be sure then the word will get around. You'll be kind of left alone. You won't be grabbed and let's participate. You'll probably be told, don't look at your phone as much. And the really important things, they say that assistant in the room will come on and say, oh, go to the atrium now. So you'll be alerted about the real important things. So in that way, maybe I'm not being completely fair, because all of those have done the reviews, have really participated with things. So it seemed really intense and heavy, but they make clear to really get your money's worth and enjoy it. You really have to be into that. So that's why for me to initiate it, the price would be lower. But if somehow I was dragged by someone or invited by someone, or if I won a contest or something like that and I was there, then I would just mention to them, I'm an introvert, just please don't make me do too much.
I will say though that for someone who is a very introvert and is like very nervous around crowds or being put on the spot, and they're going to see like their therapist about it, that'd be a perfect way to get them to break open. Just throw them into the Galactic Starcruiser. It's like this is going to be your step for step to get
your
to
homework.
Yes.
Right. Well, and you know what, you mentioned, Alia, that AI little computer system in the rooms, which I'm glad you mentioned that. That's something that, to be quite honest with you, out of all the stuff I've seen come out of the Starcruiser, that little droid AI computer system, whatever you want to call it, is probably the most impressive thing I've seen. And that's not to negate it at all, because it's very impressive. It's a little droid. It kind of reminds me of like the Star Tours lady when you're in the queue.
Yep.
And it like can have full conversations with you. It doesn't even seem like they're canned responses. Like it takes what you say and processes it and actually answers you. It's like, it really is artificial intelligence. That is something that I thought was very, very cool. And that's something that I think could revolutionize the parks in other ways beyond Star Wars, even stuff that actually can take information, process it, and interact with guests. You can have animatronic pirates in the Pirates of the Caribbean with that same technology that can interact and process information from guests in the boat and act differently based on what you're doing. Man.
Oh,
I was about to drop a big F-bomb, but that is a game changer. So
if you're wearing an awesome pirate hat, if it compliments you, or
right, or whatever, it can interact with you, and it's like just total artificial intelligence. That little droid really, really impressed me, and that really sold me quite a bit on this. I really like that a lot, actually.
Now, where is that droid going to be on every Galactic Adventure? Because I thought I heard that it won't be on every single one. Is it only for specifics?
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, Vash. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say that is the leap forward that WDI and R&D have been trying to do for a while. That's part of the interactive initiative, and they've never really had a place to showcase this and get actual real life data than in this kind of small. It's only 100 rooms, so you don't have to please necessarily that many. And because the experience is so dynamic, it can have a dynamic response and lead you to, if you actually talk to it long enough, where you need to go to do the certain thing that you want to do. I mean, it's really, that's the sleeper hit of this whole thing. It is. That people have been kind of like, well, that's kind of cool. I mean, just imagine an attraction where you had an interactive audio animatronic as part of a pre-show, but maybe it's simplify it. Let's take two different coasters, right? One Lightside, one Darkside, right? Okay, let's just go with the whole thing, right? Based on your responses to that droid in that moment, or to that audio animatronic in that moment, maybe it sends you here, maybe it sends you over there. That's kind of the potential that this kind of thing has, and we're seeing that kind of thing play out on the Starcruiser. It will say, "Hey, look, have you talked to this person? Have you talked to that person? How was your adventure? Did you like that? If you did, maybe you want to go this way. Maybe if you didn't want to go this way." It's a pretty dynamic thing right there, and it's a test right now. To your point, George, I think it may not be on your adventure by the time you get there, but I think it's been so well received. I think it should be.
Yeah. And I will say this. I will say this. And I hate to do this. But like, I'm just kind of thinking like from the business end of it. Like you said, Dre, a little AI program like that is a game changer from the business end of it, because it can recommend things. Yes. Like a Genie Plus kind of situation where it's like, you know what? Hey, you know what? Your dinner at this steakhouse, you really enjoyed that item. Why don't you try this now? Or why it can recommend things, and it can be, and again, I hate to even say this, but I mean, the business end of it is the reality too, So there's money making potential there for Disney if they want to,
Ironically, that was the original intention of Genie Plus, of Genie, the service, was to actually take in your inputs and recommend things based on what you liked. Oh, you like Mediterranean food? Well, maybe you want to go to the World Showcase Pavilion and go to this specific country and so forth. Like, that's what it was supposed to do.
But now we got, hey, where could I get a good steak? Oh, we recommend you go to Main Street and buy a balloon.
Yeah. Well,
we're working on it.
Yeah.
Working the kinks out. We'll get there.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll get there. But no, that's definitely a Lightside thing. That program really sold me. I was really shocked by that. And I got to give a shout out to Ordinary Adventures. If you guys haven't checked them out, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen real quick. I'm not going to play the video, but I want to go ahead and share with you so everyone at home can sort of,
like, they literally went through like the ins and outs, literally from beginning to end of this thing.
Man, like,
and apparently that AI does like a lullaby and a story or a poem or song. I don't know. Everybody's recommending do one night, the other one the other night. I mean, it's pretty cool. So
yeah, so check. This is their channel, Ordinary Adventures. It's Peter from Slash Film, actually. And his. I'm not sure if it's his wife or his girlfriend. I do apologize. Her name is Keitra, but they do a phenomenal job with their tour of the Starcruiser, and their videos are really, Disney should really write these to a check and thank them personally.
They help change many minds.
They changed more minds.
Bookings, yeah.
Oh man, they changed more minds than any of the official promotional. The official commercials, the official promotional work worked against the experience. Ordinary Adventures actually got people excited for it. So yeah, check them out. I'll link them down below, but they're phenomenal and they did a fantastic job.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And that, I mean, they did a phenomenal job following that. And, to put it to their perspective, like, Kwani, the female Rhodian, like her expressions and so forth, them catching that on 4K was like, that was an experience because, man, you could see all of the intricacies of that costume. Just the tech there is like, wow, that's really, really cool. That's this kind of stuff I expected to see in Galaxy's Edge. Also, too, the technology here. I mean, it's so mind-bendingly amazing. The fact that they can actually have an event take place and maybe you're in the area, and the fact that it can actually detect your presence, send those notifications out through a data pad that they provide you. That's an interim process. They will obviously update the app so that you could just use your own cell phone as your data pad. But the data pad they provide you to send you messages based on what you may have seen, not even based on you may be or certain exit and entry points, just based on what you've seen. That is some phenomenal stuff, and this kind of stuff and the scheduling of these events where you have these little isolated groups take place in like lightsaber training or any of that's the kind of technology that I saw as part of these patents, and to see it actually here and to see it work so fluidly and just you don't even think about it. I mean, that's impressive.
Well, and here's the thing. Here's something to kind of think about. Since we're kind of going with the ramifications of all this new tech.
Yeah,
I think it was George. I think you mentioned how this sort of revolutionizes like the theme park marriage with the hotel experience and what have you. That's interesting, and it's interesting especially for Disneyland Resort. You would think it would be the opposite. You would think it would be more for Walt Disney World because they're more kind of resort driven, but I actually think quite the opposite. Disneyland Resort's very limited on space, right? That marriage between the hotel, that themed experience, and the theme park space is going to be a huge aspect of the new Disneyland forward. They will probably have to take real creative approaches on blending these hotels in with the theme park space. And the way to do that is through experiences like what we're seeing with the Galactic Starcruiser. These with the line is going to be blurred between hotel and theme park. And I think at Disneyland, you're really going to notice it.
I think you're right. I think as far as like with Disneyland, I think they will be able to kind of mesh it well. And I'll get to my point as far as the entrance to Galactic Starcruiser when we get into the dark side, because I have some choice words about that. But
interesting.
So, but as far as like with the Disneyland Resort, I think especially, I know I'm kind of going off topic, but it's part of the topic with Disneyland Forward, where you have the area that would essentially be the expansion. You could set aside some land that you could actually connect from where Disneyland Park is, where you could have Batu in the back, but to the left side of the park, you would have the Star Cruiser if they decided to do that on the West Coast, or you could even have a Marvel experience for DCA.
Yes, and I think that's what is the intent going forward with this. I mean, as part of Bob Chapek's initiative when he was head of Parks, Experiences, and Consumer Products, the idea was to bring this out to every single theme park that they had. Paris, Disneyland, you name it, they were going to do it because it was such a revolutionary idea. But the potential to really capitalize on it via Marvel or Star Wars or some other franchise was too good to pass up. So when you think of Disneyland, it's like, well, how does that work for Disneyland? The size, scale, whatever. You could have an off-site hotel somewhere else. It doesn't even have to be on Disneyland proper. Just have people go off to an off-site location where the hotel is actually placed, put them through this experience, and then for their excursion to Batu, you just drive them in the back way. And you drive them out. I mean, that's how you can leverage some of those spatial constraints that they've had. You can do something similar with Avengers Campus, actually, utilizing partially that what is it, red car trolley thing right there. I do apologize, OG.
Don't do anything to it.
Right. Well, you can have a temporary gate, and you can still have red car trolley access, but that's what you could do for that as well.
Yeah. Now, before we pivot to the dark side, I wanted to ask you guys a little. This is like a kind of a transition sort of question. Bob Chapek was head of the parks division from 2015 up until when he was appointed CEO in 2020. So I think like 4.5, 5 years, something like that. This was his baby. The Starcruiser was his baby. And I'll start with you, Vash. Knowing that this is sort of Chapek's baby, and now that we're kind of seeing the fruition, the end product for good and bad, does that kind of change your mind on him as an executive? Doesn't change your mind? You're neutral. Where do you kind of fall on that?
Well, I think it shows. I think it shows me that he's willing to be innovative, but for a price.
Yeah.
I think he's not adverse to taking big swings, but he's gonna make his money back. And that's kind of and there might be some cuts along the way. We have heard of cuts that were made to the Galactic Starcruiser, which I wish had not taken place, because that ties into what my final thoughts are in this heavily. But I think from Chapek's perspective, I don't think he's adverse to taking the swings, but like you said, he go and get his money back. He go get paid.
He wants it to make a ton of money. Like, if I'm
Exactly.
going to give you the budget, it better, I better get 3 times the amount back, basically,
Precisely. So as far as that goes, it really didn't change me. Changed my mind all that much. But as far as innovation goes, I really didn't expect it, and cool. I think we're seeing that.
Cool, Alia. What? Same question for you.
Well, I might not have all the information. My understanding is that this was Iger's idea or Iger's baby. Maybe though Chapek, maybe he gave vague directions and Chapek though came up with this and pushed it through. But my understanding was this was Iger's idea. I sometimes wonder with the pandemic and all and how that affected financials with Disney and with Chapek being CEO, if it wasn't as far as it was in construction, if it might have been canceled, if things would have been different, but they pushed through because it was under construction. So I might not have all the information. However, I've never been really a huge critic, Chapek bad, all that. I'm still giving him a chance and everything. Yep. And he better not be booed. That's very immature.
Yeah, no, it is. That's terrible. And you know what, Ollie, you bring up a fantastic point. In that none of us really know for sure. Like, I'm kind of assuming because he was the parks guy that this is his thing, and that's what we hear in the community and in the murmurs and stuff.
That's what I heard.
And that's what you've heard. But at the end of the day, it might not. We are getting secondhand, third-hand reports and things like that. It very well could have been Bob Iger's directive to Chapek, and there's a lot of factors here,
Well, look, if that information's coming from his publicist, everything that the company's doing now is as a result of Iger. So,
He's still saying, "I'm over here, remember me?" It's like,
exactly. Hey, you know what? Chapek, as well as he's doing, I was the guy that put him there, guys. So, I should get some of that credit. Yeah, I like that.
Right.
Yeah, go ahead, George. What do you think?
For my opinion on Chapek, has it changed? No.
Saying yes, saying no. It's like
So, no. In all actuality, I think it's more so. It does show, as Vash had mentioned, that he is willing to go above and beyond for the theme park experience, for hotel experience, just new immersive experience throughout the company. But here comes the but. You better dot your I's and cross your T's on that check to be able to get said experience. However, I do think that there's potential still for him to succeed. And I want him to succeed for the company's sake.
Me too.
And I still think that this is just a little bit of the tipping point for him. I really, truly feel that, and I've said this before, and I will keep on saying it till that day comes, is his golden egg opportunity is going to be at the expo. For how he showcases himself and what he had mentioned, okay, this is the 100 years, the centennial of the Walt Disney Company. We have another 100 years, stuff. Okay, so show us how you're going to keep this company moving. How are you going to improve it? And I think that if he can grasp people that way, coming strictly from his words on stage, and again, as Alia said, no booing, no name calling. We don't need that. That's childish. That's inappropriate.
Right.
It's give him that chance, and I think that's where we'll see Chapek as the full commander, so to speak, as chief and CEO of the Walt Disney Company.
Cool. All right, let's pivot. Let's pivot now to the Darkside segment of the Starcruiser.
And I just have to say, please, if you don't mind, if you wouldn't starting with me first, because I have to get this out. I'm like a bouncing baby.
After I play my intro. Okay, I've been working on this thing. George, you can have the first talk, all right?
Yep, you're the first.
All right, here we go.
I will not fight you.
Give yourself to the dark side.
Yeah, buddy. Darkside segment, here we go.
Here we
Go,
go.
George.
That was awesome. That was awesome, Dre. That was awesome. Absolutely. You got the floor, Mr. Family Man. What's going on, buddy?
Thank you. Okay, so I just have to kind of get this out because unfortunately I couldn't join you fellas for the first segment of the Starcruiser because I busy being Mr. Family Man that I am. I have a family to tend to, so I just kind of have to start off again. Nothing as the positivity with the cast members, with the role playing, what have you. However, there are still things that I have seen that are just cringeworthy that I'm thinking $6,000. I'm sorry, Disney, but that's just not worth it to me. Starting with the entranceway to the Starcruiser. As far as being outside of the Starcruiser, looks great, looks fine. They get people checked in. It's the traveling to the Starcruiser I have an issue with. And to Disney's defense, it just opened. They may be working on something to get that moving along and what have you. And so the traveling to the Starcruiser, you get this eyesore in the back of Galaxy's Edge as what I like to call the rock pops. It's you literally see these mountains and you see the sticks that's holding them up.
Yeah.
And it's like, what an eyesore that you're going to this immersive experience. And it kind of takes the notion of way that you're going to the secret base of, for the Starcruiser and everything. It's like, oh, there's Galaxy's Edge. That's part of the experience. Oh, but look at these giant rock lollipops that are sticking up out of the, It's like, ugh. It's like,
well, now, is that because I'm not familiar with Walt Disney World. Like for us here at Disneyland, you can only really see the rock lollipops from when you're entering like the Mickey and Friends parking structure. Is that the kind of same situation at
Yes.
Disney World? This is when you're pulling into the resort.
This is when you have to kind of go through a little bit of especially if you're bringing your own car, from what I've understood, that you have to actually go through several different outlets, so to speak, to be able to reach the Starcruiser itself, where you have to go through one area to the next. I don't know how it goes as far as if you're on the transport, but it's kind of that eyesore of that is just kind of, I don't know.
Yeah.
It takes the appeal away.
Well, it does. It takes away from the show a little bit. Go ahead, Dre.
No, I was going to say, that the unfortunately where they plotted this on Walt Disney World property, they have you go through like it's like the magician showing his trick and how it works before he shows you the trick kind of thing.
Right.
And it's you pass by that rear corridor of Galaxy's Edge, and like you said, the rock popsicles, right? You see them up there, and it's like, that's not the greatest look, right? And the entrance corridor itself, this is what I wanted to get to here. OG, if you could share my screen right here. This is really interesting because apparently, now for the media, they didn't have this problem, but when the first voyages were coming online, you have a check-in period anywhere from 1 to 4, right? Well, think about it. If you are staying here and you're spending $6,000 to stay here for the 2 nights, well, you're really only getting about 42 hours or so. And for every single minute that you're there, that comes down to $2 a minute. So of course people are going to front load this and try to come as quickly as possible, as soon as possible, because every single minute that you're not in the experience is a minute gone. You wait an hour, well, that's it's $120 essentially. You wait 2 hours, 240. You wait 3 hours, 360. Right? That's the kind of numbers we're talking about here when it comes to cost. And so everybody's going to get front loaded, like you see here. And as you see here, that didn't always have the best reaction from guests. Unfortunately, they don't have a lobby or an entrance portal to actually hold these people, so they're out there waiting in the Florida sun in March. But what happens in July, August, and so forth, right? This right here, this was the first impression they needed to nail and they needed to get right. And unfortunately, they really didn't. And this was one of the things that was cut from what I understand, this entry lobby area to hold people before the experience is actually ready for them.
Yeah, the entry from the early concept art looked a lot different than what we actually got. And I don't even mean a little, it was drastically different than the actual final product. You know, if you look at that early concept art for this entry, it was a lot less cement.
Yeah. I should have brought up a picture for that. It's a hard one to find, but there is a piece of concept artwork out there that shows like an actual lobby, like you would find in a traditional hotel before you're whisked away into the pod and get to the Starcruiser itself in space. Unfortunately, they don't have that. They have these fans here, and people are just waiting there for, because I guess you're directed by a cast member to your room specifically, and they simply do not have enough cast members at this juncture to get everybody on board in an organized fashion. Of course, they have to turn these rooms over, right? So you need some hours to do that, and they really do need to iron out. And honestly, this is not the luxury experience that people are paying for.
Not to mention people in full costume. I mean, some of those costumes could be very thick, very heavy, and especially attracted to the heat. And as you said, Vash, that in June, July, and August, that is not going to be pretty and especially with crowds of people just standing there waiting to enter this. And you had mentioned about, boarding the pod and going up to the Starcruiser. And that was another part of my issue that we had spoken before on prior recordings, is that the pod was supposed to look like this badass pod where you look above and you see the stars and you're shooting up into space to board the Starcruiser. And now you get these little pan box, like these damn 2x4s that you have to kind of like look through. And I know Mr. OG, I'd mentioned before, he probably just like looks at that and cringes because it's
yeah, no, I don't like anything like that, dude. Like I'm very, like I've said many times, if you've been following me for a long time on here, I'm very claustrophobic. And when you make something even feel more enclosed, it's not good. Like, look, claustrophobia is totally a psychological thing. So you can have the same amount of physical space, but when they had that screen on the top where you can see the outer space and the ships and stuff, it felt more open in that room. Now it's like a box with a little sliver. And
it's really a shame because it has potential. Like you can look through that pan box and you could see what they had planned. Right, and it would have been so kick-ass if they would have had that whole top just open space.
Yeah. It would have been cool. It would have been very cool.
It's like that's the thing about this, because of the high cost, the expectations are so much higher. And honestly, when you get on the Starcruiser, the fact that it's limited to the timeline, the fact that we're limited to this really kind of weird area between The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker. And I understand that they made the entire experience in tandem with Galaxy's Edge and how these stories interrelate, and they have interrelated this whole time, as is brought out by like Hondo getting the coaxium. Well, apparently you need that coaxium for the ship and so forth. I mean, there are plot points that intersect, and they had to kind of do it that way. Maybe that's why they've been holding on this timeline for as rigidly and for as long as they have. But it's really a limiting timeline. Let's be honest here. I mean, Luke is dead, Han is dead, Leia's on the way out. Right? We don't know the fate of all of our. Sorry. Well, Okay, Leia does die in Rise of Skywalker, so I gotta say it like that. I didn't mean the offense to Carrie Fisher, okay? Man, that's gonna come out so bad. But hey, look, you have these major characters. We don't know the plot. That we don't know what happened to them. Ahsoka, Mandalorian, all the other characters that we've been introduced now. So it's in this window where you can only do so much with the characters that you have available.
I am so glad you brought that up, Vash.
Yeah, it's a limiting thing.
My biggest problem is you go into Galaxy's Edge, you go on Rise of the Resistance, correct? Okay, what's the storyline? You board a ship, you get captured by Kylo Ren, you escape. Okay, storyline, you go on to the Starcruiser, get held up by Kylo Ren, gets taken over the ship. You have to escape. It's like everywhere you turn, it's the same exact storyline. Like if they wanted to use the characters, at least change it up a little bit. Like it's like storyline. Okay, well the same storyline, it's different chapter, same story. It's like, oh my gosh, it's
and here's the thing too. I agree with you guys. I think that the timeline, they should loosen the timeline. But here's the challenge now with trying to do that, because the Halcyon, is so interconnected to Galaxy's Edge. So even like I always said, they should have various itinerary for the Galactic Starcruiser. Like you could have like an original trilogy itinerary where everything is based around that era. You can have a Mando itinerary, you can have a prequel itinerary, and do those things, and that would work in that experience in and of itself. The issue though is that when you land on Batuu, all the attractions on that land now are that same time period that between Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker. So it's now I was thinking about it. It's like that's really hard to do these different eras with the Starcruiser, because then once you get off the ship and you go into Batuu, you're at a totally different timeline.
And that's where Disney shot themselves in the foot, that I feel, because being that you have to include Batuu in your Galactic Starcruiser experience, you're having a ship that is taken over by the First Order. You're going to board Batuu, and you're going to go on an attraction that's based on a theme that the First Order, again, you're pulled into a First Order ship. So you're leaving one ship that's being taken over by the First Order and entering another ship that's being taken over by the First Order. And it's like the storyline, how can you have Kylo there, but then you have Kylo there? Isn't everything supposed to flow? I don't know. It just doesn't work for me as far as keeping it in that pan box. And I think that's where Disney didn't really think about it at that moment. Right. But I think it's gonna, if someone like a diehard Star Wars fan is really going to think about it and really works that through, they're going to be like, yeah, that really doesn't make any sense.
No, I think the diehard Star Wars fans are going to be talking about how Han and Leia conceived Kylo on board the Halcyon. I think that's what they're going to be most preoccupied about. Isn't that such a good story to tell for this thing, and just integrates itself into the experience? That was a mistake. Sorry about that, OG. Go ahead.
Oh, no. That's an issue. Now, the saving grace on Batuu is Rise of the Resistance is completely that era, sequel trilogy era. There's nothing you can do about it. There's so many animatronics. It would be so costly to try to swap those out. But Millennium Falcon, you can actually do that, because that's all screens, and they just have one animatronic Hondo. You can cover him up or something if you're going to have an original trilogy thing in there. But you can alter that attraction, I think, enough to kind of match any kind of original trilogy itinerary that you're going to have on the Halcyon. I don't know if it would really work with the prequels. But it's tough. It's tough to work around.
That is the thing. Like the integration, I will say, George. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off.
No, go
one
for
last thing. The integration is actually really good between Batuu and the Halcyon, right? The integration, the beats are, I will agree. Yeah. And the feedback loop in terms of play really gets cut. Apparently, they just have them do the regular datapad stuff that we've been doing for a while now, and that's not as nearly as interesting as the level of play that you get actually on board the Halcyon. But you kind of have to do it in order to kind of forward your story and progress to the later rooms and so forth. It's a little bit of a mess. I do have ways to improve it, but before I cut you off, George, I was just going to say, like, it's good that interplay is there, but man, like you said, that really does Now, if you change one thing, you got to change the other to reflect that. Go ahead.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I just have just one last thing to say, and I'd really like to actually get Alia's opinion on everything, because I feel bad for her. She's like, we're just like ranting on. She's like just sitting there, just like, and I do apologize, Alia, but
That's okay.
One last
That's
thing.
because my mic is being.
One last thing I just have to say, and I have to get this off of me, Mr. OG. I'm sorry, I gotta go. I gotta go to my balls to the wall here.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
One thing that out of everything that griped me on this was the what is the title of it? The dance.
Oh,
the Ryloth. I think it's the Ryloth dance lessons. I think.
Okay. Ryloth. We'll just call it that. Okay. But no, let me call exactly what it is, folks. I'm sorry. You get to pay $6,000 to board the Galactic Starcruiser to live out your Star Wars adventure. And I'm sorry, all you get to do with that particular detail is the electric slide.
No, that's definitely, you want to talk about negative, you want to talk about dark side of this experience. The electric slide is absolutely like cringy. I was secondhand embarrassed for that whole thing. And even the bingo stuff. Like, this is stuff that really surprised me, because I didn't think that, like,
I will teach somebody the electric slide for $6,000. I'd be willing to do it.
Yeah, and here it is, right there.
There it is.
With the fan favorite Len Testa. I mean, oh man, like
that kind of dance.
Yeah. Well, look, he had a whole storyline built up, and he's really getting into it, and it's great. But wow, I mean, this was a huge miss right here, and that's what I was going to say. The activities that they have on here, that the itinerary that so many people got caught up about, and what led people to believe, oh, there's no play. That's going to be like this kind of watered down cruise experience kind of thing. Know your co-pilot and all that. This is why I say, like, it's really hard to justify this kind of price, because if you're not an extrovert, if you're not actually going out there playing, there's really not a whole lot for other people to do. So for a family of four who might not all be equally willing to participate in some of this play, what are they going to do? This? I don't think so. Not for that much money.
I will say that I would pay the $6,000 to see Alia do this.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Let's crowdfund this.
Alia, yeah, I think Alia, like you mentioned in this video, you're very much an introvert. Is this the kind of stuff you're talking about that you don't want to participate in? Is this the kind of stuff that kind of makes you go, oh my God, I don't want to be part of this?
If I was in a goofy, silly mood, I would do it. It's okay if I was in a goofy, silly mood, which can happen a lot. But it's not something that I would want them to have. We're going to have this for introverts. I don't. Right. That's not good.
This was something.
Alternate plan stuff.
This was something that I would expect to see on the cruise, like for Star Wars Day at Sea. This isn't something that I would have expected for a $6,000 Star Wars live out your Star Wars adventure. Like it doesn't fit. I'm sorry, it doesn't.
And this comes down to what feels like Star Wars, because like when you watch the movies, the entertainment in that world is kind of edgy. You know, it's not. It's like there's scoundrels and like just these gangsters wandering around. Like it's very kind of edgy. It has like a spiciness to it, you know. And you have like the Twilights dancing. They're kind of sexy, whatever. But this is nothing like you see in the movies. You never see anything when they go into these cantinas. You never see them doing this line dance. It makes no sense why this is in this experience. None at all.
I mean, this is something I would see it like, I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with Texas Roadhouse, right? Like they do some stuff like this during dinner time. Like this is the kind of stuff I would expect, not a luxury cruise experience on board the Halcyon in this story, right? And I guess the idea was, well, let's have like traditional cruise stuff, and that would be in line with the story because it is, after all, a cruise. And it's like, that was wrong-headed thinking. And even if it was right thinking, it shouldn't have been executed like that. Like, wouldn't it have been great if for people who don't want to play necessarily, for the people who do want to see something that's of entertainment of value, what if you went to a show like you do on a cruise line, right? But the show this time is maybe that kind of squid crazy looking thing that we see Anakin and at that time Chancellor Palpatine sit down and watch when he's giving him the whole, right, you know, that whole thing.
The whole, like, Darth Plagueis the Wise.
Have you heard of Darth Plagueis the Wise? You know, that kind of whole thing. And that orb was taking place and the kind of technologies that you could see right there.
Right.
That would be sick. That would be cool. Line dancing, not good. That's a loss right there,
especially for that price. And it all goes back to the price. When you look at it, that if you were at Walt Disney World and you already paid your amount for your vacation, and they happen to have line dancing going on the boardwalk or what have you, you're going to go. But when you're putting on $6,000 for a specific reason to say, hey, I want to be in this immersive experience environment that the whole world is completely enclosed around me and I'm only focused on this. And the next thing is, okay, everyone come together. We're going to do this line dance. We're going to teach you 1, 2, 3, 4. It's like, no. It's like,
yeah, they need to work. Whoever, I don't know who was in charge of the entertainment stuff in this whole experience, but they dropped the ball on this. And I think they really need to bring in people that really understand what Star Wars is. I think you can create entertainment that's very family friendly. Like, I'm not saying like, like have it like, scary for kids or anything like that. Just have something that fits in line with what Star Wars is. It's a swashbuckling adventure franchise. It's not country line dancing. This is bizarre.
Yeah, it's totally bizarre. And those images went viral, so that even works against you in that way. And then, like you said, like, you're going to have people who are not extroverts doing this. So what do they do? This? Yeah, I don't think so. And when it comes to assessing in your mind whether or not you're going to spend $6,000, that's going to play a large part into it. But Alia, I wanted to ask you, what events might take that? I mean, how do I explain this? What events that could take place on the Halcyon would you then kind of look at and go, wow, I've got to book for that? Even though I'm not, an extrovert, I don't play necessarily. There are events on board that just wow me, and I've got to still take part in that experience any way I can. What would motivate you there?
They have like a spa.
Nice.
Now look, if they get some Twi'leks of kind of you know what I'm talking about.
Have the massage therapist where that would be
interesting. Maybe some risque persuasion. That would absolutely, I'm booking right now for that. Okay, that sounds amazing. But
you might land yourself a misdemeanor though on that one.
I'm being completely serious, but yes, that would be adorable if the massage therapist added like.
Right. Yeah. No. It'd be legal. It'd be legal. Like we can take the experience to Vegas. It's fine. Completely legal. It's good.
Now, if they ended up putting you in the Leia outfit while they're doing the massage, I mean, that'd be a little bit more.
Oh man,
none of you have massages.
No, not at all.
Well, yours a dresser up to your choice and comfort level. That's all I'll say.
To be fair, though, I mean, a spa
but
that would
very
be
professional. Right. But yes, if they even have like a salon, like hairstyling.
Right. But yeah, no, in all seriousness, though, I have done the Senses Spa on the Disney Cruise Line, and it's more than just getting a massage, but it's also an experience. Again, just with the spa, it's an experience with the heated chairs and the showers and everything, the jacuzzi tubs looking out, of the ship itself. So if they were to incorporate something like that in Star Wars fashion, I think that would be...
The salon's a great idea because you have people in costume who can get their face done for their costumes. So go ahead, Archie.
Exactly. No, exactly. Alio, I say this in every video. There's always at least one thing you say that like totally just like boom, like blows my mind. Something like what you were saying with the hairstyling thing would be such a moneymaker for them. You could like Vash was saying, there's a lot of people that come in like cosplay. You can don your favorite Star Wars hair, the Leia buns, the Rey buns. They can do all kinds of crazy designs, and they would make a fortune on something like that. And that's something that the introverts can enjoy. Because like that's why I love hearing your view on this, because you're more introverted. This experience is very much exclusionary to introverted people, you know? And if you can include the hairstyling stuff, the spa stuff, more relaxation in the privacy of your own little world, that would bring on more people like Alia. That's very much needed. That hairstyling thing. Oh man, that would be epic.
And they have like a meditation room, which, you know, maybe some of it could be secular for those being dragged along, but those who are introvert but Star Wars fans have it maybe in a Force kind of theme, or not as interplay role playing, but still meditation, Zen, and with the Force as a background.
Nice.
See, that's the thing about this. Yeah, like these are great ideas. I'm not just any of them. These are really great ideas. Right. This is why the cruise type thing might be limiting. You know, we were talking about the timeline, and like you just said right now, the Force. Some of that stuff is kind of an odd pairing. That's why they kind of have, let's teach you saber, training. But it's like, well, I mean, that doesn't quite make sense for a cruise kind of a play right here. But what if there was this vessel in the Clone Wars that we saw where the younglings created their own lightsabers?
And you find
what if it was
crystals.
A vessel like what if it was a vessel like that was so Force connected, like a floating temple almost, that the Jedi constructed in a time maybe in the High Republic when they were getting wiped out and they kind of needed the base of operations and stuff like that, and switched to the skies. I mean, wouldn't that have been really, really awesome? Then you can integrate all kinds of characters as Force projections or machinations of the Force and that kind of thing.
And that's a perfect example, Dre, of like what we were just talking about how you can do family-friendly entertainment while also keeping it within the Star Wars universe.
Correct.
Whoever came up with a lot of this stuff, like the line dancing and the bingo, they clearly aren't fans of the franchise. I just feel like it's so disconnected from the reality of the actual like franchise. There's just no way. Yeah. I don't know what happened with that. But
those decisions. Oh, sorry. I was just going to say those decisions were more so of rather it being a Star Wars adventure, it was more implementing cruise, but tying it with Star Wars.
Right. Because a Star Wars fan would take something like a bingo or something like that and go, well, there's a way to do a kind of board game or tabletop game that's in line with Star Wars, not just Sabacc, but what if it was like a galactic battleship where, you know, it was the First Order and the Resistance and you're in a kind of command center and it's literally battleship, but it's just the galactic version of it. And instead of battleships that you're trying to sink, you're actually trying to sink capital ships out there in the Star Wars universe. There were ways to do this. And like you said, OG, it's clear that they weren't really Star Wars fans because it's so obvious to a Star Wars fan how to make that work.
Right. No, totally. And it's funny because this is funny. Hey, look, I stand up for Chapek a lot. I'm gonna rag on him a little bit right now.
All right.
But like there were some reports that came out when Harmonious premiered a few months ago that the whole concept was kind of Chapek's idea, like, hey, people love Disney music. Make it a Disney concert, I think is what he said.
I've heard that's true.
Right? The line dancing.
Mm-hmm.
I can see that. I can see Chapek, and this is just pure speculation. I'm just kind of being funny, but I'm kind of being serious.
Yeah.
But like, I can totally see Chapek going, you know what? People love the electric slide. Go ahead and throw that one in there. Like I can, because he just doesn't get it at all. He probably doesn't even watch the movies. I can totally see it. Oh yeah, people love that. Oh, people love bingo. Throw that in there. That's kind of the decision making I can kind of see from his end of it, which they, I don't know.
To your point though, when you're not a fan of the Star Wars universe, and maybe Chapek or Kathleen Kennedy or somebody else who's kind of disconnected from the universe in the way that they might be, well, you do assign people on some of these tasks that maybe not be qualified because, well, you're not in tune with the franchise yourself. So to your point, even if it wasn't Chapek, the people that they put in charge and why that decision actually happened, well, that still speaks to some of those executives.
Well, and that's even like when you look at some of the areas on the ship itself. Now, some of them look really good, others not so good. Like when you first enter through the ship, yeah, I made the comment that when the doors open, it looks like you're walking into Macy's. I still truly believe that's what it looks like until you move off to the right side. That's when you start to see the balcony and you see more of the ship. I mean, that was like pristine right there. I mean, that was perfect. And then you get your rooms where, I'm sorry, it looks like it's something that they transported in from IKEA, you know? So there's just certain elements that it's like they hit it on the nail, but then they disrupt it with that. And it's like, that's the frustration of it where
it's almost there.
Yeah. It's
well, and that's kind of how I feel about a lot of the Star Wars stuff in general too. Like even Book of Boba Fett. I don't want to digress too far, but there's like stuff that they're just like, damn, like the Luke and Grogu stuff was like so spot on, and then they have other things in there that were like, what's going on? It's that hit and miss kind of thing. But it's interesting. It's extremely interesting, this whole concept. I do think it has overall really good bones, and I do think that with some tweaking. Adding stuff in, taking stuff out, altering stuff. I think this could be a real A++.
It definitely has potential. It really does. I have to say, as much as I ride it, and there's still a lot of stuff that I completely disagree about and don't like, but based on what I've seen from the beginning, that it definitely made an impact of how Disney moves forward with this. As I said, would I still spend $6,000? No, I don't. Not in the least. Even if I could afford it, it still doesn't have the full appeal to me to say, you know what, this is worth $6,000. If they were to drop the price and maybe include something of it, like if you were to stay at a Disney deluxe hotel, that maybe you can get like a percentage off. For the Galactic Starcruiser, maybe incorporate it in a vacation package, sort of speak. Right. Then we'll talk. But other than that, I don't really have the full, the full get up and go sort of thing to say, oh yeah, I want to save $6,000 for this.
I think that you'll start to see deals like that when they want to bolster the attendance or the occupancy. If the numbers start to dwindle, you'll start to see packages, I think, to kind of bring people in. They're trying to bring a lot of people right now into Disney Plus, so what they're introducing things like a tier that's going to have like ads, and we'll talk about this in a couple of days, but a tier that's going to have like advertisements, commercials in there. And that's a way to sort of, lower the price and bring people onto the platform. They could do the same thing really with the Galactic Starcruiser, where you, like George said, you can kind of make it a package. If you stay here, you get a deal on this one. And there's ways to do it. I think that right now they're going to try and just charge as much as they can and see where the market is. But if those numbers start to go down, I think you're definitely going to see some adjustments with that for sure.
Yeah, I think you will. I think you will start to see discounting in some creative ways to try to get this price down. If in fact that they have issues, I mean, the stat I heard was 95% of people who go on vacation spend less than what they're charging for this. So you're trying to get that 5%, but also trying to get some bleed over, or as much as you can. And it just doesn't hit all the right notes, unfortunately, right? It just doesn't hit everything 100%. If the rooms were luxurious, and maybe when you checked in, hey, I like a certain color, and that when you checked in that room, and it was individualized based on maybe some lighting in the room, that would be slick, right? Maybe when you went to the lightsaber training, you pick up that lightsaber, it would be reflected in the lightsaber color that you had, right? When you pick up the lightsaber and you turn it on, now it's that color. It's like, oh, wow, this is such an individualized experience for me. Maybe that changes dynamically with which side you actually, go towards. There's ways of improving the Batuu experience and making that feedback loop better. Hey, maybe you get a custom mission if you go on Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run, because they have ways of tracking you before you actually get into that Millennium Falcon vessel, that pod, so to speak. And maybe that mission's completely unique, to somebody who's riding in the Starcruiser, either yourself or somebody who's with you.
I think they should have exclusive hours at Galaxy's Edge. Either
probably, yeah.
Instead of mixing with just everybody.
Yeah, the mixing with everybody's a little jarring, even from people who really like the experience. Like they're dressed out, and then everybody's around them not. So that can be a little bit. That's something that they have to refine and improve on. I do believe, Alia, you're completely correct. I think there are ways to improve this, but where it is right now, and we didn't even get into the food with Lightside, Darkside, right?
Right.
I think the food was actually pretty good.
Right.
From what I saw, from what I heard from people, I think it is a homer. But the room that you're in, the what is it?
It looks
the
like a
Corellia-
hospital cafeteria. I'm sorry, that's what it looks like to me.
Yeah, the Corellia dining room or whatever. I mean, it just looks bad. It looks bad, and everybody said it looked bad.
Yeah. Well, the really cool thing I liked about the food offerings is that whoever Disney's culinary team was, I think they were really smart in what they chose, because my fiance, she is Vietnamese, and she's introduced me to a lot of really exotic kind of fruits and stuff that I didn't even know existed until I met her. Like dragon fruit, I had no idea that was even a thing. And it looks like it's like this like crazy looking fruit. And when you cut it open, it's like a pear with like little black seeds in it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's really
I've
awesome
had it before. That bastard cut me.
But it's a very unique kind of fruit, and Disney utilizes that in some of their dishes. They use like a melon ball scooper, and it looks very alien. It's very unique and exotic. A lot of people aren't aware of what that even is. That was really smart on Disney's end to utilize some of these lesser known fruits and stuff in their cuisines on the Star Cruiser. I really like that aspect. I thought that was really well done.
Ollie, you were going to say something?
Well, thank you. I was wondering with the price and just how the rooms are, and maybe as the dining room cafeteria during breakfast or lunch. I wonder if there's a lot of presumptions on Disney's part based on Star Wars Celebration. Does it cost about this much? And then they think, people are crammed in small hotel rooms anyway, and people aren't that picky where they eat anyway during Star Wars Celebration. So I wonder if there is that thought process that was in play during the planning of this, that it's about the same.
That's a good point. That is a really good point.
I think that's a legitimate point. And it's interesting too, because obviously there's no windows or views of the outside world when you're actually in the Star Cruiser. So the way they've reflected lighting, so when you go into the Corellian dining room, in the mornings it's very white, like a high Kelvin count, right? And it's stark. And it makes the room look even worse. Whereas people said, oh, yeah, when we get to the afternoon and the evening, it actually looks a lot better with the mood lighting and so forth. Those are the kind of things they need to tweak if they're not going to change the aesthetic of this kind of operation. But man, when you charge $6,000, those things are to be heavily scrutinized.
Right.
And another thing, too, is a disclaimer that if you go on with a group of people, depending on what you choose, whether you are for the Resistance or for the First Order, depending on which path you take, you will have completely different itineraries, so to speak. So if you get called to a certain mission or go to a certain room, if you were not there and you're not part of the Resistance and or the First Order, whichever one they're calling to, and your party is invited, you may not be. You may have to go station somewhere else. And I think Disney also has to kind of incorporate that with younger children, because if you have kids that maybe want to go one way as to the adults, and they're totally different experiences. So that's also something to keep in mind, that your party may get split up depending on what the missions are and which side you take.
Now, I will say that was a huge risk by Disney to do that. Now, as a player, I love that to death, because wow, I'm going to have this kind of individualized experience based on the choices that I make. But for a family, that could get a little contentious. From what I understand, though, if you go to guest services or any cast member on point, Aaliyah, why don't you go ahead and take it away?
Disney Food Blog Guide, their video, they mention that if there's any concerns, you want to stay together, there's certain plots you want to do, mention it to guest services, especially if you emphasize this is very important. We stay together. We want to do this plot. She said that they'll make it work. So.
Cool.
They will.
And that actually would fit in well. Like if they ever created a spy, you could actually have a role play of a spy for one side, and then you have to then go report to the other side, and they could make it work.
That would be
I think
cool.
so. I think so. But they will tap you into individual experiences if you really want to do that. Now, obviously, you have to do that kind of in advance because these experiences are very small, and that's kind of the magic of this. Like the intimacy is crazy. It's really just happening to you.
Speaking of magic, Mr. Vash Sky, one other thing is that if you want to actually have the experience that this is all real of what's going on, and this is nothing against the cast member because she is doing what she is told and what she was trained for and prepped for, but Disney, when you have the finale with Rey versus Kylo at the very end, spoiler alert, people, that I just have to say, with the lightsaber, they have to come up with a better way of, oops, I got to put my lightsaber down right here, and I got to pick this one up. It's like there has to be another way for Rey to...
Yes.
They need to hire like a stunt coordinator or a fight coordinator or
like maybe like if she does like a
theatrical coordinator.
Like maybe if she does like a flip or something, and maybe as she's flipping, drop one, then grab it, and as she comes up there, or something like incorporate something where it's not as obvious that you're dropping one lightsaber and picking up another.
They have a stairwell. I would have made that transition, just go down the stairs, go up the stairs kind of thing. I mean, there are ways to do that, and I guess the chandelier kind of plays into that, where that switch might be going off as you're distracted. Yeah, or maybe you're pushed down and then get back up. I guess was the routine that was supposed to happen. I don't know. They got to fix that.
What would actually be kind of cool is if they make everything go pitch dark, and then you see the lightsaber just light up, and then it just like projectiles, like the lights around you.
Oh, that's a good idea.
That would be cool. Right. You know what I would absolutely love? And Disney will never do this because it would have to be almost kind of be like an adult exclusive experience. Mm-hmm. But I'm gonna borrow Mr. Family Man's terminology. If they want to go balls to the wall, I would love to see something where the ship gets like attacked. But it gets crazy in there, right? Like the lights go out and there's like flickering lights everywhere, and you have to go through and utilize the lightsaber training that you went through for a day and a half,
right?
That would be cool.
To go after targets in the dark.
This is interesting.
I would even love that.
This is interesting because I think my mom actually said something very similar. It's like, well, what are you training for? You're not really training for anything. Let's have you train against like a thing, right? So you're there. Let me just play the audio here. You're there, right? You're training, and you got your lightsaber on, and you're going, right? And you're doing certain specific moves, right? And then it gets to be a routine, right? And you do it. And you kind of get it memorized, and then you use that same training against like another character, like
and
Darth
they even
Vader
incorporated
or Darth Maul or
that
something
in the
like
parks
that.
with the Jedi Training Academy, where they had the kids literally go up on the stage to fight Darth Vader.
But now you can do it in a controlled environment. Now you can have lighting. Now you can have all these kind of effects that you could never do in a theme park setting. That is what they should have done with that.
Oh man, that would be awesome. That would be so awesome, dude. I mean, I'm telling you, that would be incredible. And the issue with that is, like I said, is that it might have to be either an adult only thing because it might be a little too intense for little ones, or something that you let parents know in advance and the parents make that call. Either way, something like that would be totally cool. The whole ship under attack, the lights are flickering, and you got to go through the whole ship and take these people down. It would be so
I'll take it one step further.
I'll
take it one step further to you OG, going again balls to the wall. What if they did like an adult exclusive voyage where everyone is prepped prior to boarding the ship, and they send like a disclaimer and everything, and it's like where you go to those medieval fantasy fairs where you go out into a field and you got one side and then the other, and then everyone just kind of battles like a battle royale. Yeah. And it's like it's the guests versus the First Order. And man.
If they could do blasters, you could do that. Come on, Disney, stop with the blaster. Hey, All right, I hate this where it's like, oh, we can't even do blasters. We can't do blasters. Give them out. Let's fight the First Order for real.
It's like, honestly, we would have no issues. I mean, we all know how stormtroopers aim, so we don't have no problems.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah,
Right?
we're fine. We're
Right?
completely fine. We have nothing to worry about. Exactly. Pew pew pew.
I think that would be fantastic, and this is the cool thing. And then we gotta close it out. But I just want to kind of say, there's like all the brainstorming we've done today, and the cool ideas and everything that we've come up with, like that shows the potential with this this experience. You know, if Disney has the desire and the money to kind of put into this thing, it could really be something pretty spectacular. And, I mean, I think there's a lot of potential here. So we'll see how, how going forward, what kind of entertainment, they offer. I'm sure things will change and add and take away as time goes on. We'll see.
I think they have to. Because I mean, people do like it right now. They're booking all that. But can we see it at this point in this same way 10 years down the line? Probably not. So is it 5 years? There will get to a point where it's like, okay, we need to refresh in this experience. And maybe that's a time when they can refresh it. That too
Galaxy's
as well.
Edge, too.
Yeah, Galaxy's Edge, exactly.
Right.
And, we all benefit from it. So there's a lot of potential here. And there's also a lot of potential for... do Mando. Just do Mando. We'll be fine.
Bring that guy.
Got to include Grogu. We love Yoda. Got to include Grogu. But could you imagine a Harry Potter type experience? Like I've said, a Marvel MCU experience. I think the as Tom Corliss said, themed entertainment is not the same today as it was even a week ago, and the potential's out
Wow.
there.
Yep. Pretty incredible. I want to thank you guys today for coming on. This was a lot of fun. And I'm going to go through the panel. We're going to close it out. I'll start with you, Alia. If you could let everyone at home know where they can find you on social media.
On the bird, Twitter. tweet. Alia Aloha. Right there.
There she is.
And thank you for inviting me.
You're always welcome on OG55, Alia. You're always welcome. We love to talk Disney with you. So thank you for coming on. We appreciate it. And Mr. Family Man, Mr. D23, where can everybody at home find you today, sir?
Absolutely. You can find me on my YouTube channel, Disney Family Man 23. Also on my Instagram, Disney Family Man 23. On Twitter at Disney George, and of course on Mr. Orange Grove 55's channel with Citrus Corner. A lot more content coming at you. And once again, I have to just give it out there. Carl's Jr., call me.
There you go. There we go. And Mr. Vash, Alia, it's like a running joke. He lives on the East Coast. But when he comes to California, he loves Carl's Jr. That's like his favorite thing.
Please send me stuff in the UPS or FedEx.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Overnight it.
Freeze it. It'll be perfect. It'll work.
Dry ice.
Ooh, I wonder what that Uber Eats charge is. We get some there.
It'd probably be the price of the Galactic Starcruiser.
Probably. But in George's case, it'd be worth it.
You
can find me, just to simplify things, at Vash Sky right down there. Love the conversation. Love the tweets. I mean, we've actually been incorporating it quite a bit in this show. So
yeah,
I really do appreciate you reaching out. And if you want to see me, on the channel you're watching right now, Orange55 at Freshly Squeezed, your source for juicy news and info squeezed fresh right from the Grove. We've had a couple videos, so go down there, subscribe, and keep watching.
Yeah, exactly. And look, like Vash said, comment down below, interact with us on social media. We like on this channel, we like to have discussions, debates. We like to really kind of have a variety of opinions. So if you don't agree with us, that's cool. Comment down below. There's nothing wrong with that. If you agree with us, that's also cool. But we just like to hear a variety of opinions and from all angles and perspectives. It makes life more interesting. When you go to get ice cream, you don't want to go and get one flavor. You want to get 31 flavors, right? You want to get the whole experience.
The
That's how we are.
swirl sometimes.
Right? You want to get a mix. You want variety. You don't want to just get chocolate or just get vanilla. Sometimes you might want, the Reese's peanut butter cup thing, right? Or raspberry.
Sherbet, Rocky Road, yeah.
Or sherbet or Rocky Road. So that's the same thing with the channel. We like a little variety.
You can go to Carl's Jr., get a burger, get a chicken sandwich, get a taco. It's like
You're making me appreciate Carl's Jr. now more. If when I drive by one, I'm going to be like, "Oh, poor George." Just take it for granted.
We send him photos all the time, so do it.
Yeah, he
selfie in front of one.
Yeah, exactly. Wish you were here.
But thank you all so much for watching, and
thank you guys.
Thank you, and thank you all for coming on and joining me today.
Thank you,
And as always, may the force be with you.